How's it going, guys? Today's build, we're restoring a vintage dive watch. Let's get into it. So this is a vintage Tag Heuer 1000 professional dive watch, reference number 980613B. Now these blue versions, along with a red, were Japan exclusives in the mid-80s, at least from what I understand. So a 30 to 35 year old watch, and as you can see, it's clearly showing its age. The steel has a lot of wear, the bezel is all scratched up, the crystal is pretty much destroyed, and the dial's off center. Not to mention, the movement is completely fried. So the only things I'll be really doing is replacing all the broken stuff and or badly damaged stuff, while trying to keep it all mostly original. So I'll start by disassembling the watch, removing the case back, then removing the stem and taking out the movement and the dial. I'll also remove the bands and throw them into the ultrasonic cleaner to remove the grime and dirt that's built up over the decades. Now the ultrasonic cleaner won't actually affect the steel in any way, all it'll do is give it a nice clean. Next, I'll remove the crystal and throw the case with the bezel inside the cleaner. This will get rid of all the grime out of the small crevices that a brush or cloth would never be able to reach. I don't want to remove the plastic crystal holder as it's really stuck in there, and I fear trying to get it out will simply break it, as plastic as it ages gets incredibly brittle. So not trying to break, remove or replace anything unnecessary. I got a new glass, so I'll use the watch press to install the new crystal in the watch case. Surprisingly, it went in very easy, only needed a little bit of pressure to get the crystal in flat. Next up is the internals. I got this new movement, number ETA 955112. This is a direct replacement of the original movement, so it should fit exactly as the original did. To remove the hands, I'll put a small piece of plastic under the dial and use a special tool to take them off. Now the dial on this watch is in pretty good condition. It has some damage and age, especially around the edges, but luckily it isn't bad enough that it needs to be replaced. There are two screws that hold the movement inside the plastic holder ring. After the movement is secure, the dial can be placed. As to be expected from a watch this old, the feet were broken, so a few tiny pieces of double-sided tape were used to secure the dial in its correct position. I know it's possible to reattach the dial feet or get some new ones, however, it's 100% a bad idea if you don't have the right equipment. and I don't have the right equipment, so all that's likely to happen is to make the dial worse or completely ruin it. So a few small bits of double-sided tape will have to do in this case. After that, adding the original hands with the hand pressing tool. And because the movement is a direct replacement to the original, everything fits like it's meant to. With the internals done, I added a battery and now I have a working watch. So I'll add the movement back into the case and then move on to the bezel insert. I purchased this very expensive insert that has a nice deep blue color to match the dial perfectly. I also added some double-sided tape to the bezel to hold the insert in its place. I decided against using some glue, as you never know, it may need to be replaced again at some future point. With that done, all that's left is adding back the band, and that's the watch done. Now, something I should add is there was some dial damage during the reassembly process. I didn't even notice it at first and thought it was how the dial came, but I went back through the footage to pinpoint exactly when the dial got damaged, and I figured out it was after I had assembled the watch the first time. There was still some dust on the dial and inside the glass. So I disassembled it again and I used a small microfiber cloth to gently wipe it off. And it also wiped loose a decayed bit of paint on the date window. Here's a photo of the culprit. So this added a blemish to the dial, and honestly, there isn't anything that can be done about it, especially at this point. The watch is assembled, it all works fine, so any attempts to clean the blemish will just do more harm than good. So I'm saying this restoration is complete. So that's all for today's video. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Remember to check out some of the other content on the channel, and I'll see you in the next build. Have a good one, guys. I see you've made it to the end. Why don't you subscribe and check out some of our other builds? Go on, what are you waiting for?